Welcome into the Raw Knuckles podcast.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Raw Knuckles. Hosted by Chris Nilan.
Nilan going ballistic. I love it. He's going to hit his own players. He's a madman. He's a freaking madman. Look at him going to town. That'll be a suspension. That'll be a fine. Bring them all out, Nilan, you freak.
It's going to be sick.
Today, this guy, I got to tell you, born in Boston, Massachusetts, or Pembroke. I don't know which
Boston.
one.
Yep,
Boston.
Yep.
And lived in Pembroke, Mass for a while, right, JR?
Yep.
Listen, this kid never shied away from saying how he felt or what he did on the ice, off the ice. But one thing that I got to say before we get going, people talk about tough hockey players, and we often think of tough hockey players that guys that fought, okay? They just fought. But when I look at your history and what you did in the game and how you played the game and the number of points you put up also, but played the game. Guys who put those points up don't normally play the game like you. They're more passive. They're more goal focused, assist focused, offense focused, and you played the grittiest goddamn game. And where does that come from?
I was from being afraid of Mike Keenan. Tell you the honest truth. Coming out of high school back in at Thayer Academy, I wasn't tough. I wasn't physical. I was that offensive guy that just wanted to score goals. Then I got to the league, and Keenan wanted to have the toughest, most intimidating team with Chicago Blackhawks in 1988, and he literally threatened my entire NHL existence on whether I was going to play physical or whether I was going to play hurt or play with grit or with passion or with anger. And it scared the crap out of me. It scared the shit out of me, Knuckles. And I'm like, listen, this is when you have to decide how bad do you want it, right? And so at 160 pounds, I put on football pads and started throwing my body weight around and used my speed to hit. And then what I found is when I hit somebody with my shoulder and I hit that dead center, and it felt like a marshmallow getting, thrown into my shoulder and just knocking somebody on their ass. And then the entire arena, lifted up and cheered. I got a rush out of that, and it became part of my persona. I loved playing physical hockey. I loved hitting. I loved getting hit. Because it was all a part of the entertainment aspect. And then to cap it all off, I loved to score goals, and I loved winning. And it just became such a passion for me. And I dreamt about it, and I couldn't wait to get on the ice and get that first hit, And it's funny that you say that. People ask me before, are there players that remind you of you today, right? Are there any players that play like you did? That I not to be have an ego, but no, nobody. Like, what I have 48 fights. I fought Probert, I fought McSorley, I fought Berube, I fought Walker, I fought them all. Darcy,
Tucker.
I fought him twice. I fought everybody. Hit everybody, hit every game, and I hit to hurt.
But I want to stop you there for a second, because they always say you can't teach tough. You can't teach tough. So where does it come from before that? All right, Keenan brought it out in you, but it had to be something that had to be in you.
Yeah.
You had to learn that somewhere, because, again, you can't teach tough. People come to me and say, hey, can you teach my kid how to play tough hockey? I said, it's hard to teach tough. You can tell guys, okay, you got to get physical, but it's not like someone's going to run and do that. It's not easy.
You got to have passion. You got to have love for
which
something.
You had for the game.
Yeah, But I mean, you have to find something. Or people have to find something that they love so much that they put everything into it. Mine was the game. Now, and obviously everybody's different. I loved the game so much. I loved the camaraderie. I loved the compete. I loved the trials and tribulations. I lived it. It was in me. So did I like pain? No. I had to learn to like pain, but that's okay. I mean, pain goes away, pride's forever, man. So I was more into my teammates and what they thought of me and winning with my teammates than caring about how much it hurt. So it's passion, man. Everybody's got to find something that they are passionate about and then throw everything behind it. And I did that with the game. I really did.
Yeah, there's no question. Again, you don't make it to the NHL if you don't have passion for the game. You know,
Well, it's a good point, but I don't think you get to the top without taking that passion to another level and living that passion to the ultimate level. Yeah.
Yeah. So go back to I want to go back to younger days because I didn't know, and I knew your dad. I loved your dad. He's a good man, and I actually went on quite a few trips with Wally, with Brian, and I saw you in your. And I want to get to the Hall of Fame speech later, but when you talked about him smoking the butts in the car when you guys were going to hockey, right?
There was a lot of rides, battles.
We were on sleeping on Brian's boat down in the Bahamas, and Wally got the side window out in his cabin, and he's smoking a butt out the window, and we could smell it at 3 a.m. We're like, Wally, go out the back and smoke, will you?
Yeah, it was his worst quality, no question about it.
Yeah, he's a good man. We had a lot of fun together, but yeah, and again, my condolences to you for sure. I didn't know that Wally passed. I was surprised when you told me. So, but geez, what Mom and Dad had a huge part in. Like Dad worked for Esso, I know Mobile, right? Mobile.
Yeah.
He traveled quite a bit, but I wasn't aware of the part that you guys moved from Mass down to Virginia. Was it?
Yeah, we moved down to Virginia for a couple of years, and it was right during the peak of my growth years, from 10 to 13. And then my dad's like, listen, I can't stay down here. My son's got to either go away to junior hockey or go to prep school. And my mom's like, no, he's not going away for school. So my dad quit his job, and it was a really good 6-figure job, and went down to a 5-figure job just to move us back up to Boston so that I can go play at Thayer Academy, where, everything took off when I joined Tony Amonte up there in Thayer. So, the sacrifices that parents have to do for their kids to give them an opportunity is amazing. And my parents were no different, and they did everything they could, and luckily it all turned out great.
Yeah, geez. So those traveling years, and I remember, geez, when you, there, I don't remember. I know you and Tony played there. Who was your coach at there when you were there?
Arthur Valicenti. Yeah, he was
What type of impact did he have on you?
He looked like he was the head of the mafia, first of all. He was Italian.
At their academy?
Yeah, big nose, bald. Very intimidating. He looked a lot like a more intimidating Lou Holtz, right? Just really in your face. And he was loud, and he did not care whether you hurt your feelings. He was abusive sometimes, but he got me ready for the NHL. I went from Arthur Valicenti right to Mike Keenan. So it was like, okay, this is good. I can do this, no problem. So my dad to Arthur Valicenti to Mike Keenan. I've had nothing but tough coaches my whole life. That's
incredible starting out, right? I mean, but when I look at your numbers in there, right, crazy, 84 points in 24 games. I'm like, I played high school. I think I had 10 points. It's like, I was just a very average hockey player as a young kid. And the only time I got to improve was when I turned pro. Honestly, even college, I was just an okay hockey player. I did okay. But when I got up here is when things started to change for me. I got much better coaching. I got paid attention to. Coaches work with me, Claude Rell, Lemire on things that were going to make me a better player, help to make me a better player, foot speed, handling the puck, all sorts of stuff that I never did. I used to shoot the puck down the schoolyard off the wall all the time where I grew up in West Roxbury. But, I just, when I look at those numbers, it's crazy. And I remember you and your dad came to the Montreal Forum. And do you remember meeting me?
I do.
And I remember meeting you, and I'm like, Jesus.
I will never forget it. I will never forget it.
They were trying to woo you to come and play in Montreal, right?
Yep. I would never forget it. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it because you were one of my idols, obviously, growing up in Boston. Obviously, the physical aspect of the game was something that it just, and, whether it's Stan Jonathan, yourself, Nicky Fatiou, because he was from Boston. I loved all you guys, man, growing up. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and I remember we talked, and they came to me. I didn't even know. All of a sudden, they come in to me. Hey, we got this kid from Boston. They want to. We want him to play. Vadnais came in, so we want him to play for the Montreal Juniors. Him and Serge. Yeah. So I said, yeah, I'll come out and say hi. I wasn't, I'm gonna. Hey, come up and play for Montreal. I didn't even know what the hell they wanted, but anyway, you end up going to Hull, right? You got wooed by Gretzky, right?
Well, I turned pro. I went to Chicago, and I left.
Okay.
Yeah, so I left after my junior year of high school. Went to Chicago. Actually made the team, and played 4 games and went pointless in the 4 games. So Keenan thought it would be a better idea if I go play some junior, just to get a little bit more higher level play before I started. So I went to junior for 24, 25 games in Hull.
28 games and 70 points.
Yeah, 70 points and 28. Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah, I played there. I made second team All-Star that year. I only played there for 2 months.
Like, when I think of some of the best junior players, like, think about it. Like, my centerman, Cabo, he had like 100 last year. He had 150 points in 80 games in junior. Wow. If you played 80 games that year, it's like
200.
Like, yeah, it's like sick, the number of points. So you don't. And then you finally get called up. And you're 18 years old?
18 years old, yeah.
18 years old. It's incredible. When I think back to 18, it's hard for me to, like, I could have, I was still getting in trouble. I was I was still getting in trouble, fighting in the street, causing shit. Like, I was immature.
Yeah.
A
lot of us were.
I was crazy kid.
I was only 160 pounds, right? And I looked like I should be a freshman in high school. Yeah. I didn't look like I belonged, but it doesn't matter what you look like. It matters how you play, how you act, how you respond. And if you came near me, there was going to be a problem. I was gonna use my stick. I was gonna use my elbow.
Well, I remember I cross-checked you in Boston that first year, and you were like, Knuckles. Well, remember I broke the stick on your back?
Yes, you did.
And you said, "What are you doing?" Hey, fuck off, you. I ain't gonna let you.
Listen. I'm not. No way was I gonna fight you. But if you drop your gloves, I'm holding on for dear life, bro.
I never forget that. Oh Jesus. Oh, but God. So those Keenan years, early feud. Now, I had Keenan on the podcast, and I have met Mike my last year when I was in Boston, and I saw him in Chicago, and I was walking out. I wasn't playing. I was having a tough time, and I said, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And he said, "Yeah, man." I went for a ride in the car with him. I said, "Hey, can you get me out of here?" I wanted to get out of Boston. They had put me on wave and stuff. And, we weren't supposed to do those things back then, right? Yeah. But I did. I didn't give a shit. And I just wanted to get out. And it never happened, and that was fine. But, Mike Keenan, I always heard from everybody. He's this, he's that. He is a prick. And so I have him on the podcast, and I'm going, Mike. And I met him at an event in Toronto, and we talked, and I liked him. I'm there, geez, what? Everybody talks, the guy's a prick. So I have him on the show and talk, and I said, Mike, listen, every guy I talked to play, not every guy, but majority of the guys I spoke to about Mike Keenan as a coach, you were the biggest prick. And he said, Chris, I was, but I was a nice prick. And I'm like,
I think that's perfectly said, and I think
yeah,
that's the best definition that you can have from Mike. Um, Mike was, yeah, he was tough, but I don't see in any definition in a dictionary on coach where it says coaches have to be nice,
right.
right? Coaches are there to get their team to work. Coaches are there to get teams to win. Mike was one of those guys where, listen, he knew what you had. He knew when you were working. He knew when you weren't. He knew when you can give more, and he knew when to lay off. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have learned how to play through pain. I wouldn't have had the wherewithal to say, okay, well, maybe I should play on this sprained ankle and shoot it up a little bit because someone's coming behind me that wants my job,
Yeah.
right? And he never wanted anybody to be comfortable. When you're comfortable, it leads to complacency, right? So he always made it edgy. He always kept you on edge. He always made you guessing. As soon as you feel comfortable with the coach, your game is going to slip. He always wanted you to prove something to him in the course of the day. And you're right. There's a lot of guys who did not like Mike Keenan, a lot. But you know what? Those people didn't like to be critiqued. For me, he always said, listen, I'm going to be hard on you because I know you have better. I'm harder on you because I know you have better. Now, if you want better for yourself, then so be it. But don't take it personal. He was always one of my favorite people ever.
It's funny you say that because I remember with Lemire, who took an interest in me like no one, Jacques Lemire, like as a coach. Told me I fought too much. You can play hockey, blah, blah, and he worked with me and he helped me with things. And then, um, you know, he said to me one time, he said, how do you think you played tonight? And I said, I was okay. I've been better. He said, Chris, come on. He said, you got to be honest with yourself. He said, players have a hard time to be honest with themselves about their game. And if you're not going to improve. You got to get honest with yourself. He said, you stunk tonight. You were not close to how you can play the game. And I was like, first I was taken aback a little because this guy had done everything to build me up. And now he's giving me a fucking shot in the jaw.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I wasn't that good. And I agreed with him. And he said, well, listen, I'm going to let you have one of those games every 10 games. So you can have 8 of those a year because I get it. Travel, everything, it can be tough. And guys are going to have those off nights. But he gave me something to shoot for. He gave me that be more consistent. And it made a big difference in me as a player. And he told me I fought too much. I almost didn't trust him, right? I'm like, fucking, I fought too much. The last time I see a guy stop fighting,
Yeah.
his ass is out of town. And I almost didn't trust him, but he wanted me to play hockey too, and no one ever approached me like that
Yeah.
when it came to hockey. It was always, and it was unbelievable. So,
Puts a different perspective in your brain. Different perspective in your brain. That's great. Yeah. Everybody has that one coach, right? That really changed a lot for them.
So that was the coach for you?
Yep, 100%. I would not have had the career I had if it wasn't for Mike Keenan. No chance.
And JR, 20 years in the game. And like I played 13 years and I knew at 34, I started questioning myself. I fought a couple guys. I fought Big Jim McKenzie and Peluso back to back. And now I'm the 34-year-old guy fighting these young kids, 20 years old, with muscles coming out of their ears. And I'm like, I would get to the box, I'd be sitting on the bench, and I'm going, man, you know what? And it's hard to be honest with yourself. But I knew I was losing that half step. And I'm sure people could see it, and they knew it. But it's like I was so conflicted. And I'm thinking, I'm losing it, and you don't want to lose the game. You don't want to lose the camaraderie. You don't want to lose that stuff in the locker room you talk about and being with the boys, right?
Yeah, 100%. Well, for me, 20 years is like,
it's unbelievable.
It was losing the little things, right? Like little moves that I could have pulled off really quick with my hands. My hands all of a sudden don't react as quick, so that move doesn't happen as well. I can't shift as fast or move because my body is a little bit beat up. And it was just coming to the rink and knowing that putting on my skates and having to bend over to tie my skates became just like a nuisance.
Ouch.
Once I got into practice, it was great. We all had fun, but I didn't want to go sit down and put on skates, and I didn't want to start a new year and have to break in a new pair of skates at 39 years old, 40 years old. I'm like, this is it. I mean, I've done pretty much everything I can possibly do, and that's when and it was Doug Wilson who said I was done. I was going to play another year, and Doug says, you know what, JR, you don't need to prove anything else. You're good. Who knows when that next big hit's going to be, that next concussion that really knocks you out. And sometimes you need a good friend to tell you when it's over, and I haven't missed the game 1 minute since. Like, I don't miss playing at all. Yeah. I love the game, but I don't miss being on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't certainly miss it. You do the first few years. I missed it because I'm like, oh, I could fight that guy. I could beat up that guy. I could, I could fight him. But and I was fooling myself because I was done here. This is the toughest place to
oh yeah, 100%.
To sit with everything. But listen, and we talk about the injuries and the concussions, and I talked at the beginning about you, and tough is not always fighting, but you did fight. But, and I'm still amazed by it, and I really am. And I say this because, I look at the injuries. When you first come in, Featherstone with the cross check, lose some teeth. Boop. Philadelphia, your jaw broken in 19 places with a slap shot. I mean, hello.
Yep.
I know. We know what that would do to majority of athletes from other sports. They'd be gone. See you later. Then the Hatcher thing. Now, I watched that, and I saw the hit on Madonna, and I get that. Madonna, right, one of the best American players ever, no question.
Ever. No question.
Right with you. And to bounce back like that night, in there was a 5-on-3, right?
Yeah, I didn't want to leave. Well,
it's crazy.
Because in the paper after I knocked out Madano, the next night we're playing it's a back-to-back. We're in Dallas, and in the paper it says payback is a BITCH, right? And the paper, front page of the paper. So I knew I was going to get it. I knew I was going to get it. And I got booed, and I was having a blast, and I didn't know I was going to break my jaw in 5 places. But what I wanted to do, I said to my coach, I said, I am not leaving this game, even though I'm pulling my jaw out of my mouth. I said, I am not leaving this game. I'm going to play on this power play. I'm going to score a goal, and then I'm going to leave this rink with my middle finger in the air to every single one of these people in here, and I'm going to get the last laugh. That was my whole mentality. It didn't happen, but I wanted it. That's why I played for another 5 minutes with my jaw flapping all over the place. Just
to go back on the ice. Now, and not to say, oh, you did this, I did this, but I remember I broke my arm in New York for the second time, and I ended up staying in the game. And I thought I just hit it and it was a nerve or something, but I had broken my ulnar bone again, and I couldn't even hold my stick. And Roger Nielsen was coaching. He said, what are you doing? I think you're hurt. I said, listen, I hit a nerve, blah, blah, blah. So I finished the period, but I remember the puck came to me. I couldn't even hold my stick. And then I said, I got to get off the ice. Someone's going to grab me and fight Baumgartner or someone. We're playing the Islanders. I said, I'm not going to be able to do anything because I couldn't even lift my arm. And anyway, I had a compound fracture, but that was stupidity on my part. But
I mean, sometimes it doesn't matter. We want something so bad. We see through the pain. So and we need somebody to protect us from our own selves sometimes, right?
True.
Yeah.
True.
By the way, it's a rare characteristic. It's a rare breed. They don't make them like that very often. So I'm glad you and I are one of them.
And no, but it's funny. Like, JI, I wonder where that doesn't just come from Mike Keenan. Like that's what I'm.
Well, listen, my mom and dad. My mom and dad were tough. They were tough. They were very disciplinary. They were tough. They were hard workers. Very, very blue collary. Very manners, strict. Walk the straight line. Be nice. Be kind to others. There was no there was no venturing outside the lines growing up. So it was very structured and very, very strict in how you had to act. So I had structure like that. And whether I knew it or not, I had to find it inside me. Someone had to show it to me, and I knew it was in me because I was brought up like that. But yeah, it's good. It's a good life lesson. See, a lot of people now will take injury or pain, and that's a reason to stop working. That's a reason to leave and stop playing or get a rest. Sometimes it's that pain that should drive you to, to get to that next level. Now, don't let it stop you. That's where you build that adversity in your brain, and that. So for me, I loved challenging myself like that.
So your time in Chicago with Mike, and in the 89-90 season, Denny Savard ends up getting traded to Montreal for Chelly. Chelly gave you your Hall of Fame induction. He gave you the plaque, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And you said it. No one loves the game and is more dedicated to the game than him. And I got to see that firsthand.
Yep.
When he was a rookie, when he came in, and how much he loved being at the rink, how much he loved being on the ice, how much he had the passion to play. It was incredible to see this kid grow up from a baby here in Montreal and do the things he did. Just incredible. How cool is that for you, and how does that relationship with you and him kick off right away?
It was amazing, and it was a lot of pressure for me because Savvy was obviously he was the star of Chicago, and Keenan, in seeing me progress, wanted to make a change because Savvy and him did not get along at all, and so it was a lot of pressure for me. But so when Chelly did come in, and I knew that it was my time, Chelly came in literally like a big brother, right? Him and I hit it off so well right away. And obviously, I knew who Chris Chelios was, and I was in awe when he got there, Mr. Captain America. But he treated me the way a captain should treat every player. He didn't treat me different. He spent a lot of time with me. He would be, if I was getting out of line, he would zip me right back in. He was one of those real friends, those real people that really cared. Not only about you, but about the team, right? And he taught me so much. And Chelly's still one of my greatest friends in the world. And for him to be able to give me the my Hall of Fame plaque was one of the most special things that have ever happened to me in my career. And he was the fourth person that I called after I got the call from the Hall. So, he means a lot to me. He really does.
Yeah. When I watched that speech, it was incredible. And I'll get there, but I want to get I want to get through those Chicago years. Then you end up getting traded, then you go to Phoenix, spend some time there, and then end up getting benched, right? Didn't you? Or was that the second time around?
Which
second
one?
time. Second time. Sorry.
Second.
But that first time going to Phoenix, playing in a market like Chicago, and I know you were quoted as saying you always wanted to play for a Canadian team, but never did. But you original 6 team, and then you go to Phoenix, and you're out in the desert. Like, how difficult of an adjustment was that from the hockey standpoint and the way you live your life away from the rink?
It was, I mean, listen, growing up in Boston, then going to Chicago and living in cold weather the whole time, to go to Arizona was life-changing. I mean, here I am amongst palm trees. It's beautiful every day. People are excited, but they're not really big hockey enthusiasts, right? So we're out there getting ready to teach people about the game, introduce people to the NHL, and it was good. We go out to restaurants, nobody bothers you. You go play golf after practice. It was a great place for my kids to grow up. Arizona was amazing. It was an amazing place for me if you like peace and quiet.
Right.
And it was great for me. I really enjoyed my time in Phoenix. I lived there for 26 years. I had a house there for 26 years.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you go from there to not an original 16, but it might as well be one, Philadelphia. And
Yeah.
Philadelphia had to embrace your style of play, and you certainly, your persona, right? Philadelphia must have loved that.
Well, I think I said we matched so perfectly the Flyer mentality, not just the Broad Street bully mentality and the organization mentality, but the fan mentality. Fans are just like they're just in your face, and they are so committed, and they're they're passionate, and that's how I played, right? So I knew all they wanted is someone that put in hard work every night, who played with passion and emotion, and laid it on the line and did everything he can to win. And I knew with Flyer fans, it's not so much if they won, but they loved the everything that went into the winning, right? So for
Yeah.
me, it was all I had to do is get on the ice. For me, I couldn't wait. All I had to do is get on the ice. I knew that my Flyer fans and I would match and would be like the best match ever. And we did. And I've had, even today, Flyer fans are as good to me, if not better, than any other fan in the world.
When you go back to that city.
Anywhere,
Now, yeah,
anywhere.
when you bump into them. Is that where the disco ball started? Did it start in Philly in the locker room, or is
It did.
it started
That did.
there? No, listen. You know hockey players how it can be very old school and like traditional. You bring a disco ball into the locker room. What was everybody thinking?
The thing, this guy's crazy. This guy is, I would never do this. But I was one of those guys that I was prepared for the game the whole day, right? So I
Yeah.
started from the morning I woke up until about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I would eat and live and think the game. That's it. So right around 5 o'clock would come around. I wanted to loosen the guys up. I wanted to have some fun, because you don't want guys going on the ice being all tense, and you want guys going out being excited and having some. I want guys having fun in the locker room. You want to be in that locker room. You want to be around the boys. And I would always do stuff just to make them laugh. And I put at Christmas time we had the pink elephant, or whatever it's called. I got a disco ball, so I put the disco ball up in the locker room. Hitchcock didn't like it very much, but it was great. And then somebody else got me a little laser beam, and every day at 5 o'clock, right before the meeting, I would turn the disco ball on. And I would dance to the Bee Gees, or to Party Train, and just do a dance for everybody. And there's this one time. So Todd Fedoruk, who was our fighter.
Oh, I love Todd.
One of
I'm good friends
guys,
with him.
One of the greatest guys in the world. He decided he was going to stand up and grab a stick, and he was going to play the bass. He's going to play the bass while I danced around and stuff like that. So he stood in the corner. I turned the lights off. There goes the lights. Here's all the sparkles are going around the room, and I start dancing. And Mr. Schneider, Ed Schneider, the owner of the team, comes walking by the locker room, sees what's going on, slips in behind the door and sits down and watches the show. And everything stopped, and everybody starts clapping. And then Ed Schneider gets up, and Todd Fedoruk sees Ed, and he's like, "Holy shit!" He goes, "I'm sorry, Mr. Schneider." And Ed goes, "I hope you guys have as much energy on the ice as you did in here tonight, right?" And Fritz sits down in his stall, and he's like, "I'm getting traded. This is JR. Why'd you make me do that? Why'd you make me do that? I'm gonna get traded." I'm like, "No, you're not, Fritz. He loved it. Don't worry about it. Let's just go out and have a fight. Let's win the hockey game, and everything will be fine." Well, we went out. He fought twice. I had a goal and assist. We won like 4-1, and we came back in, and I said, "See, Fridge," and Ed's in there, high fiving everybody, and so that was the kind of atmosphere that we had in Philly. It was great.
So, you end up going from Philly, LA. Kind of things didn't go well. You apologized to the fans of LA. You said you sucked there,
That was terrible.
which
That
I
was
thought
terrible.
was funny. Back to Phoenix, had Gretz benched you, whatever, and then you're shy of your 500 goal mark, which is something to shoot for, right?
Oh well,
And
it's one of the very rare, one of the most rarest,
yeah, hello,
rarest, yeah, milestones in hockey, right? At the time, only one American had ever did it, and that's Joey Mullen at the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
So, I was trying to be the second player, U.S. player ever to get there, and I'm 4 goals shy.
Oh, and then someone comes along, the
Yeah,
sainted Doug Wilson.
yeah. Well, it was crazy because it was like one of those times going back to the lockout, I was really pissed off at the lockout. I was really mad. I was mad at I'd come off of 2 major concussions. Then the whole lockout, lost a lot of money due to the lockout, which is one of the reasons I had such a bad year in Phoenix and LA, because I didn't work out in the off season. I came out of shape, and then I wasn't treated fairly in Arizona. They brought me in to sell tickets, not to play, which bothered me also. But then here I am, 4 goals shy, and I'm 37 years old, and I'm like, no, July 1st, nobody's calling me. And then nobody called me all of July, August, nobody's calling. My agent's calling other people. They're like, yeah, no thanks. We're moving on and stuff like that. And so, whether it was my wife or my agent that called Doug and kind of let him know what was going on, and Doug being the greatest person and one of the best friends in the world, and
Yeah,
being in a managerial, he called me up, and I was literally in Sun Valley with my family for the summer, and I was drinking heavily, like heavily. I was a mess. I was gaining weight. I was, it was just, I was going down the wrong road, right?
ooh,
And
I've been there.
yeah,
I've
going
been
down,
there.
going down the wrong road, and you know exactly what that's leading to, kind of like leaving Las Vegas kind of mentality. And he called me and says, "Hey, JR, get on a plane tomorrow. Come see me in San Jose." So I did. I jumped on a plane the next day and flew down to San Jose. He picked me up at the airport. We went straight to the golf course. Got in the golf cart. He ordered a 6-pack of Coors, and we went out and played. We started talking, and by the 3rd hole, he could see that I'm like just desperate, right? And he's like, "JR, you want to come play for us?" And I was like, "Are you serious? Are you shitting me?" He said, "Of course, I would love to come play for you." And he just looked at me. He goes, "Listen, I care about you. I know you got some stuff left in the tank." He goes, "I'll let you come play for us, but you got 3 rules, and these are non-negotiable rules. So if you want to come play, these are it." He says, "Number 1, you got to play for the minimum, which was 500,000." And for me, it wasn't about the money, of course. I said, "Easy, no problem. No media. Cannot talk to the media. You're going to be a good soldier. You're just going to be a good, veteran leadership. Take care of the boys. Take care of the young kids. Show them a way. If we ask you to do something with the media, then fine. Great." And the last one he said was no alcohol. You cannot drink once the entire year. And I had a beer in my hand, and it wasn't even a thought, Knuckles. It wasn't even a thought. I didn't take my eyes off him. I dumped it out right in front of him, dropped the can, and shook his hand right there on the golf course, and started crying. I'm like, "What? That's a deal." And he goes, "Welcome to the Sharks." And I went home. I worked my ass off for a month, and scored my 500th goal against Gretzky and the Coyotes
Yahoo!
2 months later. Yeah.
Are you okay with Gretz today? With all
Oh
that?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
love Gretz.
yeah.
I love Gretz. I love Gretz back then. He's a coach. You're gonna have certain situations with coaches. It's okay. I think Gretz is one of the greatest guys in the world. He is one of the best ambassadors of any sport.
Yeah.
He's one of my idols, and we have fun. We laugh about some of the things that happened back then, but
All water under the bridge. I get it.
yeah.
So the 500th goal, how difficult? Now listen, I know when I went down the rabbit hole and I was trying to get well, I had a real hard time to stop drinking.
Yeah.
How difficult was it for you, especially during the year with, come on, you're on the plane, guys are having beers, guys are going out for dinner, having beers. That's not easy. It's not easy just to stop when you're used to it's a release in a lot of, especially when you're playing the game. You're wound up a lot, and then afterwards you like to have your couple beers and calm down. How difficult was that year for you?
It was not difficult to start. There was a couple of difficult parts in the beginning. Like, obviously, I'm a big team guy, right? So when you're in the back of the bus, everybody's having beers or having wine at dinner. That was always the tough part. But I always said to myself, I am here. The only reason I can be here is because I'm not drinking that, because I'm not having that. So it's like, which do I like more? And I was so grateful for having that opportunity. It didn't bother. It really wasn't too hard. But I did celebrate pretty hard after the season was over that year. I did.
I guess.
Yeah,
right?
I opened a bunch of big bottles of wine and celebrated a dry year and a very successful year of the Shark season. Yeah.
So that year, then you play your last season, 08, 09. You could tell you were kind of done, right? You had reached that pinnacle, that 500 goal mark. But did it get tougher on you next year, getting suited up every game? And
it was tougher. It was tougher mentally. It was tougher physically. You put your body through as much as I did for so many years, 20 years like that. It definitely slows down a lot. And it got more brittle. Like in December, end of December, I fell on my shoulder and tore my rotator cuff and my labrum, right? So I was out for 2 months after that. And then, our team was so good back then too. Our team was so good that I thought I had a chance to win a cup and I didn't. And I think that frustration after missing so much time in my last year, not winning with the team that we had, I was just like, yeah, that's enough.
were you at the finals how many times?
Just once.
Once. The conference final twice, right?
Conference final I went to
3 times.
Three times.
3 times.
Yeah.
And you didn't get that cup, and it's crazy. Like, I've had guys on here that won cups. It's funny. I had Will Paymon on, old time. Will played in Quebec, New York.
Yeah.
Tough bastard. And we were at an event a golf event in PEI in Prince Edward Island, and a lot of former players there. And Reggie Leach's son was there, and he's won 2 Stanley Cups. And I didn't even know who he did. I didn't know who he was. And we're sitting at the table, and Wolf sees him sitting there. He got 2 Stanley Cup rings on, and Wolf goes, "Who the fuck are you?" Like, because Wolf, he bust my balls. He said, "I can't believe you got a cup. I don't." Right? It was giving it to me. Right? I'm the Wolfie. I wish everybody could have one. I really do. It's an unbelievable experience, right?
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you a cool story. I'm gonna fast forward maybe on you a little bit, but at the Hall of Fame weekend, the Sunday night before the Hall of Fame, I had my dinner for a bunch of my friends. I had like 30 or 40 friends at Soto in Toronto. So we had the whole upstairs, and right during dinner, the Hall of Fame and Lanny McDonald brought the Stanley Cup to the restaurant to see me. And they brought the cup up into the room. And obviously, when that thing comes in, everything stops.
Yeah.
People from downstairs were coming up, people taking pictures. So they brought it there for me and my my crew to take pictures with. It was such an amazing gift. And I'm standing there next to the trophy, Knuckles, and I'm crying. I'm standing there right next to it. I'm not touching it. I'm not lifting it. I'm not but I'm.
Were they tears of sadness?
It was so surreal, and yes, it was a sadness. Like, you eluded me my whole career. I bled for you. I sweated for you. I broke bones for you. I traveled for you. I tried to do everything I could to lift you up, and I couldn't do it. And I'm literally crying, right? I'm crying. And my wife comes up to me, and she grabs my hand. I had my Hall of Fame ring on. She grabs my hand. She goes, "Jeremy, you see all those names on that cup? There's so many names on that cup. And there's some names that guys that really probably didn't do anything to be on that cup." She goes, "You have a Hall of Fame ring."
Yeah.
You know how many people have that Hall of Fame ring. She goes, don't be sad that you never won that. Be so proud and grateful that that's on your finger. And I was like, and I looked at my wife. I'm like, see, this is why I love you. This, I mean, it's just like
That's awesome.
It was
That's
so
awesome.
It was so surreal. Yeah.
So
surreal.
Yeah, what a career. 1,216 points in 1,363 games. You had 122 points in the playoffs in 154 games, 53 goals, 69 assists, 513 goals, 703 assists. Like big
Hey,
numbers.
don't forget those almost 1,500 penalty minutes, man.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to overlook that. I was going to get there. In 20 seasons, though, you should have had at least 3,000.
Exactly.
JR, looking at those numbers and looking at the past, what was your best season of hockey? Like the best one you had?
Probably that year we went to the Cup in 91, 92 against Pittsburgh. Playing with Michel Goulet and Steve Larmer.
Yeah. Butsy.
Chelly. Oh my God, it was that for sure was probably my ultimate high playing. I scored 50 that year, 100 points that year, going to a Stanley Cup, just learning as much as I was living on top of the world, playing in Chicago. That was the best. And probably the next best was probably in San Jose, playing in San Jose.
Yeah.
My career was the 2004 Philadelphia team with John LeClaire, Recchi, Primo, Gagne, Justin Williams, myself. Wow, we had the absolute bomb team. I had Tony Amonte and Alex Zamnoff on that team too at the end. Probably the best team I've ever been on. That was the most dominant team that I've ever been a part of, other than the USA Olympic teams. But that was another great year. To be able to play with Tony Amonte in Chicago and Philly, and have Zamnoff come to Philly, who I got traded for in Chicago. It was just surreal. It was so wild. It was such a great finish to 2004 season for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Listen, playing for your country, and I got that opportunity, JR, in the Canada Cup.
Yep.
And only because of Badger Bob Johnson. It's incredible how that guy treated me. Didn't know me from Adam. I met him. I didn't think I had a goddamn chance in hell to make that team.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, he's telling me, hey, you're staying. And you know who he kept me over?
Who's that?
Brett Hull.
Wow.
Well, Brett was young. He was out of shape. And the Badger had him in Calgary, right?
Yep.
And Brett was not in shape. And he was pissed at Brett Hull. He told him, get in shape if you want. And he came, he was out of shape. And he ended up keeping me over Brett. And
wow.
I was shocked. But,
wow.
Was that a good move or a bad move? You look at it, maybe a bad move now. But, it was
all retrospect.
To get that opportunity to play for me, to get to play for my country, it was incredible. I never thought I had that chance. I tried out for that 1980 Olympic team in a regional tryout up in Danvers.
Yeah.
And, I got this. I didn't even get to go to Colorado, the festival, and I was like, okay, whatever. And I knew I wasn't the best player, but, I really didn't think I had a shot in hell with that team. And I understand why, but to get that opportunity is unbelievable to play for your country.
It's definitely one you got to be proud of, and they can never take it away from you either, which is great.
So you got a few more minutes. I just a couple other things, and so you retire from the game. Did you struggle after it all, difficult, or you were just done?
No, I didn't struggle with the game. I was great, and then I went right into television, literally right after, which was a great transformation for me. Right, one to the other within 3 months. So I found
you were built for that, right?
Yeah,
you got the personality for it, big time.
Yeah, that was the perfect niche for me to go into. Right, I loved being able to go on television and talk to people and entertain people, and that was great, and people loved it. And still today, people are like, "Please get back on television." But it just was a nice transition for me. And you know, I battled mental demons as I got older, and when you're away from the game, you have to find other things that stimulate you and get you going, and sometimes those are the wrong things, and you know, you have to really have to focus your life to make sure you do the right things in life, and you can easily get astray. And I can say I did, and I can say I've done it multiple times, and I brought it back on course, and now I'm on a course of a totally different level.
Well, yeah, God. So, you know, and the way you went out of TV, obviously you were outspoken, always outspoken, and you went on Chicklets. You had an issue, you know, said something on there. Like, when you look back at that now, is there regrets at all, Jeremy?
No,
And again,
no,
because
no.
like I know, and we always hear people, you can't live and have regrets and blah blah. I regret things I did in life.
Yeah,
There's some
yeah,
things I regret I did,
yeah.
and that's not one for you.
No, I regret a lot of things too, but that is as far from one of them as I could possibly get.
Cool.
I'll tell you, I truly believe if I said today what I said in 2010, or I mean 2019, sorry. If I said today what I said in 2019, nobody would say anything.
Yeah.
Nobody would notice that I said anything wrong or bad.
Yeah.
I got caught in the wrong time, in the wrong genre, with the wrong
Yeah.
company, with the wrong mentality, with the wrong type of people, and the wrong message at the time of our society. And but I listen, my life has turned out really, really good, and no, I don't regret anything.
Well, one of the, and I watched it a couple times. I saw it the night you spoke. Your Hall of Fame speech was incredible. And listen, I've seen a lot of them. I live up in Canada here, and it's on all the time, and you see everything, and you know the hockey coverage is unbelievable. At the end, and I love that you thank all the people. You went through everybody that had an impact. You talked about the trainers, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah,
You included everybody, and you certainly pointed out some special people in your life. Your kids,
yeah,
your wife was incredible, and looking right at her and talking to her, not like, you know,
yeah,
it was incredible. At the end, you said you had a light bulb moment,
yeah,
higher power moment, how one chooses to live their life honestly, loyalty, integrity. Lots of decisions in life, and there's consequences to those decisions when we make them, some good, some bad. You have to be present. You got to stop, analyze, and decide. You said just earlier that you're on a path of a different level. What is that path?
it's a path of living a life of decency. It's living a life of taking care of myself emotionally, physically, mentally. It's taking care of my wife physically, emotionally, mentally, my family. It's it's living the life the proper way without demons, without
What are the demons, Jeremy?
the demons come all with everything that comes with pro sports, with being an icon, with being a celebrity, being whether it's drugs, alcohol, women, gambling, everything that goes along with having lots of money and being accessible. It's very easy to get lost and to not be present in your life, or see what you have, or appreciate what you have, to look at the relationship that you have, and how they look at you, what they do for you. You know, one thing that is really tough for a pro athlete or a celebrity, right? I think it's really hard to really find the deep meaning of love. Like, can you really, really find it when millions of people on a course of a day, millions of people will look at you and say, I love you, JR. I love you, Chris Nilan. I love you. I love you. I love you. That word, I love you, is thrown around so cavalierly, with so much like
So
ease.
lightly. Yeah.
Okay. those three words, which are very, very important words that literally we rely on as a living guidance, becomes watered down. And it becomes watered down because people that you don't even know say it, and you say it back just to say, hey, I love you too. Whereas I love you is more like, okay, what does it mean? Why does it mean that? And I lived everything right at the surface level, not going deep and thinking about it, never being vulnerable, never being intimate, it's like, JR, you want to go to the casino? Yeah, let's go. You want to go to the bar? Yeah, let's go. JR, you want to go, smoke a bong? Yeah, let's go. Right. Yeah. It's everything is so present. It's so surface that if you just don't stop and think about the decisions that you're going to make, the decisions that you're going to make because of spontaneity, or because you don't want to be left out, or you don't want to, you're looking for that next rush, or you don't want to let somebody down, you make it that wrong decision, it can catapult into so many bad other things. And that happened for me. And my life got to be unmanageable, and I hated where I was, and I was paying too much attention to the celebrity side and everything that goes along with that celebrity side, rather than what was the most important thing in my life. And that was my wife and my kids, and living a life that I can come home and know that I can walk through that door and I am at peace in my heart, in my brain, and I'm treating people with the utmost respect and honesty that I possibly can. And that's a good thing,
Yeah,
people,
it is.
people like to say you found the Lord or Jesus Christ or anything like that. You can say anything that you want, but I've definitely become more spiritual in terms of how I look at the world.
And I get that. And listen, I heard a lot of words in there that I can identify with. Mm-hmm. Higher power, grateful, unmanageable, those words. And I had to address all those things myself because I was in that same boat. And, I had to work my ass to get out of it. It took me some time. I made some mistakes on the way, but today I live a life of a spiritual life and a good life. And
you look great. You look great.
Thank you.
You look great.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I was a sick man at the end. The painkillers, everything it just sucked the life out of me. I was a shadow of myself.
I'm sure you look forward to waking up in the morning, and
I do.
It's a different feeling, and
yeah.
Those are the addictions that I want. I want the addictions of peace. I want the addictions of being able to wake up in the morning and be happy and know that I'm not doing anything bad against anybody.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it takes work, right? It takes work, and I just think that's awesome. Good for you, and thanks. I'm glad you're happy and at peace. And it took me a while to get there, but I finally got at peace myself.
Good for you, buddy. I'm proud. I'm happy.
Things are good. Yeah. Listen, JR, thank you so much for joining me. I wish you well moving forward. If I can ever help out anyway. Shelly came my golf tournament last year. You might have to consider coming in to Montreal.
Send me the dates. Send me the dates. Next year, you're going to come on my podcast with me and Timmy Peel.
I'd love to.
Okay.
I'd love to.
All right.
JR, you take care. All the best, bud.
Thanks, Knuckles. I love you, buddy. Right. You're the best.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Raw Knuckles with Chris Nilan on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.